the new rule kicks in that it's above 99 crowns, so it should be disabled. And I think this demonstrates how easy it is to customize what could be complex logic. I mean, stuff like, how much should the auditor be to enable these kind of different shippings, and I mean it's very simple. You can do other complex things like adding discounts if the member has if the user has a specific role with rules, stuff like that. And if you know how to use rules, you can do a lot of stuff pretty easily. But the rules interface in some cases is very complex. One case that's very tricky is that if you want to figure out if the order has a shippable item, then you should be able to choose shipping. That is one case where rules is very difficult to use, because what you would need to do is you need to loop through all of the products on the order and figure out is this item is shippable, and then be able to tell rules that if it is shippable, then the rules will pass. And the way you have to do it is pretty advanced. I won't show it here, but just know that in some cases it can be very difficult to do it, but in other cases it's very easy. So as long as you think about the conditions, you can get very far. Questions?
You mentioned that there has been some improvement on the reporting side. This is news to me, at least, because comparatively, commerce to Magento or Magento wins simply because there are more reporting options, and it's it may be more difficult to configure each item, but you get a lot more reporting on KPIs and stuff like that.
The reporting model is still, I think it's in the alpha state.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that's very good, and if you don't use Postgres as well, it's very good. But but if you do use Postgres, there's some issues in the way that it summarizes all the data.
Right.
But it does some fancy stuff, like it creates a map where it displays what regions our customer coming from based on the IP address, and it summarizes which products do you sell the most, and like a general trending, like how much did I sell last month each day, with a nice graph and stuff like that. So you can just out of the box with that module, you can get a lot of reporting options.
So can you customize it too through views, like what sort of things it's showing you, like what if I wanted to know which products or product types are trending right now, stuff like that?
I haven't used it enough to actually figure out how customizable is it. Right. I know it is based on views a lot, but it does a lot of, it uses some visualization module also to create the graphs and stuff like that. So I don't know how difficult it would be to split up like different product types, like books and t-shirts, to figure out where is sales coming from, stuff like that. But I think once it matures a bit, stuff like that should be possible.
What's the module called?
Sorry?
What's the module called?
I think it's called Commerce Reporting. Just look it up. Commerce Reports. So,
Whoa.
okay, that's.
Or the high resolution image. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So you can see, like, this is, I don't know what it is, total average.
There's the only thing that springs to mind is that this is nothing out of the box that you don't get out of the box in Magento.
Yeah, but
plus in Magento you get like a lot more.
But you need to think about the commerce philosophy about Drupal commerce, because when you talk about how much you get out of the box, the philosophy behind Drupal covers is that the core itself should be as small as possible. Basically, whatever you get when you download Drupal covers is what everybody should use. I mean, even shipping is not part of Drupal covers, but it's something that a lot of sites uses.
But this is why I asked to the extensibility, because if something like the report module is not easily extensible, then there's really no reason.
Yeah. So I don't know in what detail you can extend and you can change, but you get a lot of possibilities and a lot of different ways of displaying data that is stored in your Drupal cover site. At least it's a long, it's a big step compared to what we had before, which was basically nothing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's any way of making one-click purchases of digital products where the customer only has to enter the credit card information once and then you can just log in like an app store? E-commerce and any Danish payment providers?
If I wanted to do something like that, I probably need to. I don't think there's a ready-made solution for it, but you could do a lot of stuff with rules and some custom code, because probably you would have some data stored on the user knowing if you have the login details, stuff like that already for his credit card, so you just can complete the order or not. And you could create a condition saying like if the data is set on the user, then like complete the order. There is an action already for completing the order, but maybe you would want to do other stuff as well, like creating information that the payment is coming from this agreement, or updating, like doing the transaction itself, stuff like that.
Yeah, but thinking about the connection between the user and his stored credit card information and the payment provider. I guess it has to store some token from the payment provider.
There's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, but mostly you would have a token, and then you would have some API to the payment provider that will enable you to do what you need to do. But I don't know of any module that handles this for you out of the box. So you would have to write that integration code. But if you are able to do that, then completing the order stuff like that would be pretty easy. What commerce need to do is pretty easy to do when you use rules. I mean, you would be able to handle it with a few actions to complete the order and get the money basically. And the complete the order is already there, so all you need to do is to create an action that pulls out the money and a condition that can check if you're able to do it basically. But there will be some considerable work actually integrating the payment provider, unless some other module has done it already. Yeah.
You will do cannot code yet, and maybe learn a little bit. With this condition, will there be reasons for choosing Drupal card instead of commerce?
No, even though I mean, commerce is a lot more extensible than Drupal card. That's my experience. The philosophy behind Drupal commerce is not to create a store itself, but instead to create the building blocks that you need to create a store or to create some other e-commerce solution. And because commerce has done that, then whenever you need to do something that's not exactly default behavior, it's a lot easier to do it. And you can, like I showed with rules, with the UI you can change what would require code. I mean, conditions like that. Normally, that's something you would do in code to say like, I have some condition, and if it passes, then do this, and otherwise do that. But with rules module and how it's integrated into commerce, you can, as a non-coder, go in and write like, I want to compare the order total, or I want to look at has the user this role, and other kinds of conditions. The rules UI can be a bit tricky to understand, but once you get a hold of it, it's very powerful in that sense that you can make up your own conditions and actions, what should happen if the condition passes. And UberCard doesn't have that. So the only thing that you get out of UberCard is what they thought of that you should be able to extend and change. Whatever is outside of that area, I mean, you would have to code. But since commerce bases itself on rules, you can make up new events and new actions and new conditions as you go along.
Which means no reason to use UberCard.
In my experience, I would never use UberCard again.
There is one reason to use UberCard. If you want Drupal 6, we can't go.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. The only reason you should use UberCard is because the client told you, I want a Drupal 6 size, and you cannot have Drupal covers for Drupal 6. Then you can use UberCard. Otherwise, I would say that Drupal covers is a lot better. It's a lot more extensible, and it's a lot easier to understand, both as a non-coder and as a coder. When you do development, you will find out that that basically once you know a few APIs, you know what functions exist because of the naming convention. They have been very good to use the same types of names where you need to save stuff, when you need to load stuff. So if you need to load an order, you say commerce order load. If you need to load an item, it's commerce line item load, stuff like that. So you don't need to remember like, oh, I need this special function, I need this special API, because the naming makes so much sense that usually you can just guess the name. If it exists, you'll be right off. Okay, thanks.
All right, it's 12:35, so there's lunch for an hour. They have some sandwiches in there. We have pre-order 20 or something else. It's out on the street of Copenhagen. No. Så vi sidder i din session igen, fordi jeg kommer til at starte.